Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Woo-hoo! Here we are this morning. We are ready, alive, and we are agape. Yes, yes, yes. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Sunday, this glorious, bright, beautiful Sunday, especially the amen corner back here in the last row. Good morning. So this, as Sarah so wonderfully let us know, and Beverly let us know that our theme this month is Community in the Golden Age. And the title for today that's shown up is Hear All Good, See All Good, Know All Good. So before we get into the co-creation with this title, because yes, I am the one standing up here, however, we are a unit of consciousness co-creating together here today. I would like to start with a little giggle. You know, a little giggle is always a great thing to start with. So, a stranger approached the minister at the end of service. One time there was a service in a spiritual center, and a person who had never been there approached the minister after the service and said, "I'd like you to pray for my hearing." So the minister took her hands, put them over the person's ears, and prayed like there was no tomorrow. Prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. And then at the end of the prayer, after the Thanksgiving and release, and so it is, the minister took her hands off the person's ears and said, "Well, how are you feeling now?" And the person said, "Well, my hearing is actually not until tomorrow, but thanks for the effort." Oh, yeah, just a little giggle to get us going, just a little giggle. So, hear all good, see all good, know all good. I thought we might start with definitions. What is good? What is good? Now, for me, good is God. It's synonymous. God, good is the same thing. It's just one extra O in the word good, but it is synonymous with God. God is all good. However, I did look it up, and some of the things I got for the word good is kind, valuable, loyal, agreeable, pleasing, and beneficent. So those are some of the definitions that show up for good. So I'd like to ask you, since we're co-creating here together, just yell it out. What do you think is good? Chocolate, John. Sarah says love. Life. Yes, Marilyn says life. Yeah. Beauty. Friends. Ice cream. Paychecks. The world. Peace of mind. Nature. Practitioners. Music. Yeah, so all of those. Val? Heart is love, yeah. Art, A-R-T, art, like artistry, yeah. Art is love. Is good. It's all good, yeah. The reason I had us all be a part of that is there's no limit to the amount of words we can use to define good. Because the basic thing is, the basic idea here is, or the basic knowing is that good is what I think is good. You know, good is all the things that I think are good. If I think a flat tire is good, it's good, you know? If there's something like that, there could be something like that. So now we are all in agreement with what is good. Good is a myriad, a plethora of ideas and things and understandings and beliefs. So we're in consensus with one another about what is good. So let's talk about hear all good, see all good, know all good. So I went back to definitions. So what is hear? What does that mean? I hear. And what I came up with is, what showed through me is to listen and to heed. That's what to hear it can be. However, on the flip side of what is to hear, there can be deafness. On the other side of what is to hear, there can be no sense feeling of hearing. Okay, so in the hearing realm, there are two different entities, and then there's the middle. You know, to hear, I could be in the hearing, I could be listening, or I could allow myself and choose to be in a place of deafness. I could really allow myself to not listen, to not hear. And what comes to me about that is our intuitive voice. Am I listening to my intuitive voice, or am I being a place of deafness when it comes to my intuitive voice? When I'm driving down the street And I don't have my GPS on because I'm busy listening to wonderful music. I'm listening to Karen Drucker or Eddie Watkins or someone like that. And I decide, I'm just watching where I'm going someplace. Do I listen to my intuitive voice that says, turn right here now? Or do I just keep on driving? Or when my intuitive voice says, don't turn there, am I allowing myself to listen? And not just listen, but as a dear friend of mine used to always say, listen and act upon it in boldness. Really, to listen and act upon it. Not just listen, not just know, something in me said, do this, do that, but I'm not going to do it. Actually listen and act upon it. So that can be the place of where we're hearing, to hear. The next one is see, seeing goodness, to see all goodness. And to see is to view, to ascertain, to understand spiritually or emotionally, or to consider. So to see, to me, is a much bigger word than those three letters, S-E-E. To see is like to ascertain. So what is it I'm ascertaining about the world? What is it I am ascertaining out here in the world? On Sunday mornings, I usually open up my iPad and look at Google, and because I want to know what's been happening in the world, because I want to know what's on the prayer list today, what is mine to pray for today. As you know, I choose to listen to the NEWS, which is really not the news, but I make a personal choice for me to listen to NPR for me. And this is an ad for NPR. However, I like to know what's going on in the world, and the seeing part of that is, what do I ascertain? So when I see something, like when I opened up today and I saw children were shot and made their transition in Chicago, how do I ascertain that? In what way do I ascertain that? In what way do I choose to see that? So this is like the seeing part, because it's more than the visual. We see with the human eye. However, am I opening myself up to and making myself available to see with the divine eye? To allow myself to know, to see with the divine eye? Or am I even allowing myself to see with the third eye? The third eye here that sees that our human retina and all those things, an optic nerve and all that stuff, probably doesn't see. So that's the second one. So we've already done hear, see, and now know. And know is, a word that we all are very familiar with here at Agape Bay Area. All of us metaphysicians, all of us new thought, ageless wisdom, beings of light. However, what I figured out, or what came to me, is to know is to be cognizant, aware of, acquainted with, or have a clear perception. So to know is to be cognizant, to be aware of. To be aware for me that in the midst of seeming human frailties, or in the midst of seeming human upsettedness, that there is only one power and one presence. That back of it all is spirit. That the depth and the breadth of it all is spirit. So to know, we often say, I know that I know that I know that I know that I know. Well, I don't know if we all often see it, but that is something that in my beingness, that is not a comfortability spot for me. I can always be in a place of, I am willing to be willing to be willing to know. Because the knowing is within us. The knowledge is within us. We are each a receptacle of the divine mind. All the things that are ours to know are already in us. What a concept. What an idea. I mean, it's really yummy, and it can also be a little, like for me, and sometimes it's like, whoa, I already know. Okay, spirit, all right. So mine is to open up to it. Mine is to allow myself to open up to it. And also mine is to love up any resistance to the knowing. Because when the resistance shows up, instead of first pretending, oh, the resistance not really here, I'm not really feeling that way, or doing spiritual bypass, praying it away. Okay, I am going to pray this away. I'm going to take those 6 steps and I'm going to make this go away. Instead of that, in lieu of that, allowing ourselves to know the resistance is here. The resistance is here to teach me something. The resistance is bringing what is wanting to emerge. So I get an opportunity to love up the resistance. I get an opportunity to say, You're here, okay. I'm going to love you up so that you can bloom and blossom and open up in my heart and mind and show me what the reason you're here, what reason the resistance is here, so that we get an opportunity to remain in the flow of the knowing. So, hear, see, and know. Those are the three things for us. And this is Arab American Month. And so I want to share with you a quote from Khalil Gibran, who is best known for the prophet. However, I didn't know until I looked him up that he had a bunch of other books, and that he was quite young when he made his transition. However, for today, your living is determined not so much by what happens to you as by the way your mind looks at what happens. Yeah. Your living is determined not so much by what happens to you as by the way your mind looks at what happens. And I interpret that to know, too, what do you look at as good? What is it you look at as God? What is the essence, the foundation, the substance, the content of all that is a part of our lives? A part of my life, a part of your life, a part of life itself. So I want to share with you a story. I love this story. It came to me a while back. A few years ago, in the northeastern part of the United States, it might be Massachusetts, Maine, all those places up there, Delaware. That's where, I didn't know, the majority of the cod fish that is eaten comes from there. I wasn't aware of that, but these days I'm getting to be more of a pescatarian, so I want to know, where is my animal flesh coming from? So I came to know that the codfish of most of our North America, or this part of North America, comes from the northeast coast. And so a few years ago, the merchants who sell this codfish were having a challenge. They were having a problem with transferring the fish across country. So here's what it was. When they froze the fish, sent it across country, it lost its flavor. Okay. When they put the fish live in saltwater tanks and sent it across country, it got mushy and soft on the way. So they're trying to figure out, what do we do about this? So I like to think the divine mind within them had the answer, and the divine mind within them came up with this solution. Catfish are a natural enemy and predator of codfish. Okay, you know catfish with those horns of theirs. I used to fish for catfish, I know them. So what they did was, instead, they put the codfish in the saltwater tanks to ship them across. However, they put catfish in the tanks. And so the catfish, all the way across, the catfish were chasing the codfish, so that by the time the codfish got here, they were completely differently musculated, if that's a word, like their muscles were, they weren't soft and mushy anymore. They were completely differently better. Yeah, because they had, well, at least 5-6 hours with the catfish chasing them around. I'm sure there were some of the codfish that succumbed to the catfish, okay? Let's not be ultra idealistic about this. However, the bottom line was that the catfish in the tank with the codfish made a difference. It made a difference in how these fish came across. So you're probably thinking, okay, Reverend Verona, and what this has to do with my good, or hear, see, know, good, is that this. There might be some catfish in our lives. There might be some catfish all around us. There might be some catfish that we know by first name even. There might be some catfish that are in our lives. However, here's the thing. They make the difference in our lives. They give us an opportunity to hear all good, see all good, know all good. And here at Agape Bay Area, we might call the catfish our noble friends. And for those of you who may not know, our noble friend is someone who shows up in our life for our expansion in growth, our expansion in forgiveness, even our expansion in self-love. I like to say, for me, when my noble friends show up, it's someone who has shown up to get on my last nerve. Yeah, however, when that being, that entity, that person, that group shows up, it's really because I have decided to open myself up to expansion. I have decided to open myself up to the ultimate learning that I have chosen to identify with, embrace, and embody the godliness within me. The godliness within me, within you, within us, within all of us. So, how do we hear all good? In what ways do we hear all good, see all good, and know all good? Well, it's with the catfish in our lives. And now you might be thinking, ooh, I like this, I like this. What is the spiritual technique? Because here at Agape Bay Area, we are masters and mistresses of spiritual technology. Yes, our 6-step prayer, spiritual technology. Yeah, we are, and it works. I have some dear friends who live in Texas, Beverly, and I have some wonderful friends who live in Texas, and they always say TSRW. This stuff really works. The first S you can substitute what they actually say. However, I would be thinking, or I'm feeling like, okay, in what way can I make this happen in my life? In what way can I hear all good, see all good, know all good, knowing that the catfish in my life is the community in which I have chosen to live. The people who we magnetize to ourselves, who are the catfish in our lives, or the noble friends, we bring them to us. I bring them to me. Someone who shows up in front of me who I am maybe grumbling about and upset about, and call up my best friend or one of my friends and want them to co-sign my madness about. I brought that person to me. I bring those things to me, even if it's a huge group, even if it is a particular politician who I don't care for. Even if it's something like that, I bring that to me for growth, healing, forgiveness, spaciousness, expansion, for all of those things, the godliness, the God within and as me. So, the ways in which that we can really use this in our own life. The first way is we can accept and expect. And the accept and expect is from the reading by Ernest Holmes. Today I accept and expect only good. I mean, just think if you say that every morning. Today I accept and expect only good. If you say it all during the day. We know that what our words are charged with prospering power. What I say happens. What I say manifests. What I say unfolds itself. Because, as it said in the reading, a remembrance, I am, we are, they are one with God, and God is one with each one of us. God is one with me. So it's just an opportunity to acquiesce to our linear mind and allow our heart to speak. Allow that we already know to speak. Allow that intuitive voice I was speaking of earlier to let it do the speaking to us. I accept and expect only good. First way. Second way, praise and thanks. Praise and thanks. Now, you all know that I was a Baptist girl in the beginning, and so the praise part is an integral part of who and what I am, and it's an integral part of who and what we all are. The praise could be music, as is so lusciously given to us by Janet and Ryan. It can be poetry, so lusciously given to us by Leslie. It can be writing. It can be an authorship. In whatever way that praise comes to you, it can just be standing outside and going, "Woo! I'm thankful for this air." In what way praise and thanks. And the other thing, gratitude, the attitude of gratitude shifts the vibration of our lives. It shifts the energy of our lives. If I am grateful for something that appears to not be good, it shifts my life. Just like I said before, if I am grateful for a flat tire, and the reason I said that about the flat tire is a while back in January, the tire pressure light kept coming on in the dashboard of my car, and so I went to the filling station and said, "This keeps coming on," and it's a station I go to all the time, and they said, "Verona, the tire pressure light is on because your tire is all nicked up, it's all beat up, your tire needs to be replaced." And I said, "Oh, okay." Then he walked around my car and said, "I'm surprised you haven't had a flat tire. All 4 tires need to be replaced right this minute." Yeah, and so the prosperous part of me said, I wasn't really intending to spend $1,000 today, and I probably want to get the best deal I can, so I'm going to go to Costco. However, It's time for tires. I get to circulate that has been entrusted to me for tires. Now, if that light had not come on, if I had not gone to see to the station where I go all the time, where they know me and I just go up there and talk to them, who knows what could have happened to me on the freeway. I'll admit to all of you in all transparency, on the freeway, the speed limit sign may not have anything to do with me. That is to say, I am the person on the freeway who's in the left lane. I am on my way. So that's the other thing that, my son actually pointed out to me. Yeah, Mom, at the speed you drive, you need to get new tires. Yeah. So that is, that's one of those things that I got to look at as a really something here, good, no, all good. Yeah. Yeah, and the new tires are on there and they're great. and in my little red car, she can go still really fast. So praise and thanks. Praise and thanks is one of the way. And praise and thanks is finding joy in everything. Finding joy in everything. And the third way, believe and consent. Now, the believe and consent is from the Neville Goddard reading. And in our physics of prayer class, we've been reading Neville Goddard, and I am falling in love with Neville Goddard all over again. And what thing in the Neville Goddard reading was, the world manifests our concepts, and then the world arranges our mind, arranges it in the image that is in our mind. So if in what I believe and what I consent to. Okay, so that's what happens. The world, Spirit manifests itself through and as each one of us. Spirit can only do for us what Spirit can do through us. And that's what it is. It's our mind that manifests all these things. These comfy chairs we're sitting on is a manifestation of someone's mind. This podium, manifestation of someone's mind. This sound system, manifestation of someone's mind. And I love when you say it, Sarah, this prayed up synagogue is a manifestation of someone's mind. So that we get an opportunity to believe and consent. Not just believe, but believe and consent to that belief. I believe, Sarah and I were having a discussion in our meditation time in the room, I believe that I am living to be 100 years old. And I give my consent to that. I give my consent to the universe. I give my consent so that, as you know, all the cells of our body are eavesdropping on what we say, especially the inner conversation that we have with ourselves. So I give my consent to all the cells and all the atoms and all the fiber in my body to stay here 100 years, at least. So that's what I mean by believe and consent. So how this is working out in my life. For one of the things that came to me, recently I was walking past my bookcase, and this happens a lot. I'm sure it happens to you. I was walking past my bookcase, one of the bookcases of the gazillions of metaphysical books I have in my house. And one book kind of turned itself over and didn't fall out, but kind of just like pushed itself out. It was my mother's Bible. And I blessed that of all my siblings, when my mother made her transition, I got to have her Bible. Now, I don't think my sisters know how magical a book it is. However, I got to have it, bring it home, and it's with me, okay? And so I just held it to my chest. Just held it to my chest for a few moments. Of course, I could feel my mother's presence. However, I could feel all the beingness of the divine that's in that book that I call a workbook. And the phrase that came to me was, I know in whom I have believed. I know in whom I have believed. And so what showed up for me is how this is all working in my life. Hear all good, see all good, know all good, and these things that I am discussing with us, accept and expect, praise and thanks, believe and consent. In the second third of my life, I became a mother. And when I became a mother, I wouldn't say I'm an ego mom, but I'm one of those people who like, okay, my life is dedicated to being the best mother I can be. So that's what generally how my life went, starting in my 40s. So I put that cloak on, or that's what I am. Well, lo and behold, of course, my children grew up. And both of them, the two of the beloveds, Leah and Alex, grew up. And now they not only grew up, but they launched themselves successfully into life with more success than my human mind could ever think of, which is the divine within them. However, what's become known to me now is that my purpose for living no longer is being someone's mother. That besides being a minister and besides just loving God, being here simply for God, that part of me, I get to release it now. And the release is not easy. The release is something that, thank goodness, I have dear friends who hold me and comfort me and say to me, it's going to be okay. And what dawned on me is in the releasing of it and allowing myself to step up into my greatest yet to be, that I've been using these things here. I accept all the while my children, the arc of their growing up, they're in their 30s now. I think you've all met them, but they're in their 30s now. The arc of all this was, one of the things was, I accepted and expected the best and the highest, the good, the highest good there was possible. And also in that time, I led with praise and thanks. Even when they were doing things that snarled my brain, even when they said things to me like, well, what do you know? What do you know? You're old. What do you know? Yes, they did. One of them did. I was allowed myself to still have praise and thanks, be praised, just praise and thanks, just thank you, spirit within and without, that they're here, I'm here, and whoa, they're hooked into the divine mind, and that they can have more chutzpah than I ever had in my life, okay? And that them speaking to me in that way will probably benefit them later on in life, even though right now I don't like it. And the other thing that it dawned on me that I used in this mothering paradigm for me, or this mothering purposing for me, was believe and consent. The whole time I allowed myself to believe and give consent to the fact that they are going to grow up. They are successful. They are the divine emanation of the Most High. And what's showing up for me now, which is such a blessing, they are my friend. Each one of them is my friend. Each one of them does spend time with me. And each one of them, because they were raised in as little metaphysicians, each one of them believe and know these things that I just said. And that each one of them, no matter what their journey is, they hear all good, see all good, know all good, so that I get an opportunity to be the same, to accept the same, to know that, woo, look what only took 35 years to happen. And I'm not saying that tongue in cheek, look what, because life goes by, it all goes by fast. It all goes by fast. And fast is a subjective thing because, as we know, there is no time in spirit. However, in the humanness here, in the human body here, it felt like, or it feels like, it's going by like, it's all going by fast. So the bottom line here is, another Bible verse came to me when I was holding my sweet mama's Bible, and what it said was, do not be overcome by evil. And Ernest Holmes defines evil as the inversion of the eternal good. The inversion of the eternal good. And the way I look at evil too is, evil is the lowest level vibration. That's all. It's just a lower level vibration. And all vibrations are part of spirit. All energy is a part of spirit. So do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. This is from Romans, the 12th chapter and the 21st verse. So for us to do all this, for us to be all this, for us to participate in all this, for us to revel in all this, what's the key? Community. Community is the key. Community in the golden age. Community opens us, blossoms us, blooms us. Whew. Pushes us through. Community makes it, like that Anais Nin saying, there came a time when it took more effort to stay in the bud than it did to open up. Community is the key. Let's pray. And Beverly will be joining me up here for our prayer.